This is Steve Wozniak of Apple Computer here, and you're listening to Pavlina's Kidz Place.
Hey everyone, it's Pavlina from Pavlina's Kidz Place, and we are here at the ASI show in Orlando, Florida, and I'm here with the main guy, keynote speaker, co-creator of the Apple Computer, Steve Wozniak. How are you doing?
Very good. I always get acknowledged as being a co-founder of Apple Computer, but I'd really rather be acknowledged as a big prankster in life.
Yeah.
Someday, my next book will be on pranks.
Nice. Yeah, actually, speaking of your books, I have your iWoz book and your Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak book. Like, this is so cute.
Well, read the iWoz book if you want to find out how Apple really started. That's the one to read.
Yeah. It literally goes from when you were starting out with your dad and everything. It's really cool. And then this book explained everything about how you even came up with the name and stuff. So it's really cool.
Good.
Yeah.
I hope it's correct.
If you could say how Apple was starting out, wow, we really did something amazing. What is one thing that you would say about Apple?
One thing about Apple, you know what? From day one, this was going to be our life's endeavor. We were going to start a company. It was going to be great forever. It was going to help people do things and become masters, become more powerful than they ever could be. And we barely imagined what it's actually touched,
Yeah.
But so thankful we moved in the right direction. But we also started with this great image of coming from nowhere. Before that, it was usually people that were well-funded, spinning out of companies that had a lot of money, and they'd start another company. And this was just two young people, We couldn't even speak business talk. We'd never had a business course. We had no money in the bank. And so it's a good story that caught a lot of imagination and inspired other people to do similar things.
Yes, it definitely did. So with high school, was that kind of your push for everything, or did you kind of push yourself?
I was actually starting elementary school. I actually knew so much. I built projects in elementary school that would have been graduate level courses at a university, and I didn't know it. I did it for fun for science fairs. Hundreds of switches, hundreds of parts in them, doing all sorts of playing computer games and that kind of stuff. And I had no idea. We didn't even have computers in our schools, but I didn't realize I was so far ahead. Yeah, in high school I developed so far. I didn't know Steve Jobs yet.
Yeah.
Met him later on during my college years.
That is so exciting, though. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't even know what to be doing. That's crazy.
You know what? But I admired it. My father had been an engineer. I'd always wanted to be an engineer. Engineers have to study and learn a lot of mathematics in the old days for analog electronics. But in digital electronics, you had to think out, and I had to know all the little building parts that you could buy and exactly how to connect them together, how to hook them together, draw wires on paper, solder them together myself, and build things. I'm glad I was a builder too.
Yeah, I know.
Once we got to computers, you also had to write the software. You had to do the hardware and the software. Had to do it all. But if you didn't do it all, you didn't have something for yourself. Yeah. If you didn't have money, you couldn't afford it. So you had to build it.
You've always wanted to be an engineer and also a fifth grade teacher. So starting early, did that really help you succeed in everything?
Well, you know what? For one thing, I told my dad in high school, I said, someday I'm going to own a 4K mini computer. It had to be 4K because that's the minimum computer that could run a programming language, and you could write programs to solve your problems. And he said it costs as much as a house. And I said, I'll live in an apartment. But in my head, I had thrown down the gauntlet. I was going to have my own computer someday. And then by paying attention to the building pieces, the building blocks they're made of, the lumber of computers, I spotted when all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I had the formula in my head how to build a useful computer at an affordable price. So I was ready. So I had prepared myself for it. The same thing with the teaching, because I had always wanted to be a teacher in my life. Whenever I took psychology courses, I paid attention to the development of child's minds and cognitive development and that sort of thing, and factors about that. And I always wanted to be a teacher. And eventually in life, I had my own kids, and then I did secret classes with no press allowed. I just taught fifth graders from a public school year after year after year how to use computers for every subject in school.
What was it like being able to teach those kids? Because that must have been really exciting for you.
At first, it was very scary. I started out with just a class of 6 of them one summer because I didn't know if I could teach, and I didn't know how do you teach. What should your course be? I don't want to teach them to be computer geeks. I want to teach them how to use computers like normal people, and I wound up loving it and doing it. I got up to where I was teaching 7 days a week. I would teach 5th graders. I would teach 6th to 9th graders. I would teach teachers, classes of teachers. Every single day, I'd open up the office. I would write my lessons every single day in the morning and then give the classes in the afternoon.
That's crazy.
But I'd wanted to. See, it was me knowing who I was as a person, and even though you've had this huge success of Apple, you don't have to become, I'm just going to take wealth and power and multiply it. I didn't want to be one of those people. I liked the person that I had always wanted to be when I was young. So that's why I went and did the teaching. It's also why I went back to college and got my degree. If there had never been an Apple computer, I would have finished college.
Yeah.
So I just went back for 1 year and got my degree.
What would you say like were your biggest like successes and also like maybe even your biggest failures?
The biggest success by far was the Apple II computer. It really did change the world. It was a tool that for 10 years was going to inspire and teach other people what computers were about. The way I learned was I'd accidentally find a manual nobody else could find and say, oh my gosh, here's how they did something. I learned from other people's work, so I wanted mine all published so that other people could say, this computer stuff, I understand it, it's easy, it's what I love. And a lot of CEOs of companies now tell me that's exactly what happened to them. Failures, I don't really see that many failures. In later life, I tried to start companies, and I come up with, here's a project we should make, and it's impossible. And in my life, I had a lot of successes of making things that should have been impossible, and I found out sometimes they are impossible. You can't achieve your engineering goals.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Yeah, a pleasure. Nice to meet you.